Street Talk with your host Reggie B. Come on, let's all join in. Free your voice, it's your choice, alright here. Oh, simply straight talk.
Hey, Reggie.
Hey, Kim. How are you?
I'm doing good. Have a seat next to me.
Oh, thank you. I would love to.
So, how's your project coming along?
Well, it's going good, but Wilson seems to be a little distracted lately, so I'm kind of on hold with my project.
I know. He's having some marriage problems.
Oh, wow.
I'm still waiting for his end of the month report so I can close out some of my projects.
I know people always say, like, you should not bring your problem to work, but to be honest, it's not always that easy.
You're right. I was in an unhealthy relationship for 2 years, and I couldn't focus on anything.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, it's not something that I'm proud of or like to reflect on or talk about.
I understand. I was involved in a troubled relationship myself, and it is something that I am never, ever proud to even talk about or think about.
Yeah, Reggie, I think we can both agree that we're good people with great things headed our way.
You see, you are so positive. I love that about you.
Thank you. It's good to know someone respects my way of thinking.
Speaking of the way you think, I do believe that James appears to like the way you think.
He seems nice. I appreciate that.
No. See, no. I mean, you see, James really likes the way you think.
Okay, and I think he's nice. He seems really upbeat and respectful.
See, I don't think you're getting my point.
Actually, I do, but you know Angelique and I talk, so that's a firm no, and I'm not interested.
Oh, wait. Hold on. You say you and Angelique talk? Hold on. What are you and Angelique talking about?
Just this and that, women stuff or whatever.
Okay, well, I'm feeling a little left out right now.
So what do you and James talk about?
Oh, church, the economy, cultural stuff, history, that's about all we talk about.
Really? I love discussing the economy. So what aspects of the economy interest you?
Oh, you know what? Look at the time. We really need to go over our notes. This is a big meeting.
That's fine. We talk the economy over lunch.
Yeah, sure. Great.
Welcome to the Simply Straight Talk Show with your host, Reggie, keeping it real with discussions on this thing we call life.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Simply Straight Talk Show. This is your host, Reggie Matters, man, and today we are going to be talking about why do people stay in bad relationships? Now, when we get into this topic, I want to clear something up because I try to be fair and look at both sides of things. And I know whenever there's a conversation regarding relationships being bad or one of the individuals in the relationship being mistreated, it normally favors the women and it's normally implying that the men are the reason. When you look at the topics that people post on videos or articles about why do people stay in bad relationships, most of the articles are catered toward women, insinuating that men are the cause of the bad relationships. Now, do I think there are some men out there who are just not good mates when it comes to being in a relationship? Absolutely. But I do believe also that there's the same number of women out there who are not good mates when it comes to being in a relationship also. So a bad relationship is not a gender thing. It is an individual thing. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about why men and women stay in bad relationships. Why do women stay in relationships with bad men? Why do men stay in relationship with bad women? Because it happens. It happens. Nobody likes to talk about it, but it happens. And the same thing that you got some women doing, you got some men doing. The same thing you got men doing, you got some women doing. Now, when it comes to bad relationships, like I said, it's something that nobody's proud of. I have been in a relationship, a couple of relationships actually, where it was just the fact that it was a bad relationship. I should have walked. But I think I mentioned this. I might have mentioned it on Instagram, but I, in my earlier part of life, was somebody that was just loyal. Like, if I made a promise to you that I was going to do something, I'm doing it. If I made a promise or decide that I'm going to be loyal to you, I'm going to be loyal. And that was it. No questions asked. You had my loyalty. And I think I committed that loyalty to some relationships that were bad to where, I shouldn't have. And that's what we're going to talk about today is what happens and why do we stay in bad relationships? Now, bad relationships are not always abusive, but abusive is a part of it, a big part of it. So we're going to talk about that because staying in bad relationships can make you it can make you feel like bad things in relationships is normal. So you come to expect that. So when you meet somebody who actually is good, you know what I'm saying? You can be a good man. You was in a relationship with a bad woman. But when that good woman comes along, well, now you normalize that craziness. And because she doesn't respond that way, you don't know how to take it. It could be something as simple as, you used to have a woman that was overly jealous and talked to you any kind of way and didn't treat you a certain way, never called you, didn't really, just kind of half talk to you. So when you get a woman that wants to spend time to you, treated you like a man, and, and she actually cared and called you to see how you was doing, you kind of feel like, what's wrong with you? You kind of flip out on her. And the same thing for women, You can get a man who wants to do that for you and you flip out on him because you normalize crazy. And that's not how it's supposed to be. And that's one of the dangers of staying in a bad relationship because you can actually create habits from a dangerous bad relationship and bring them into a good relationship. And you don't want to do that. That's not how you want your relationship to work. But with that being said, let's talk about some of the reasons people stay in bad relationships. Now, this is not to judge anybody. This is not to criticize anybody. But hopefully, I hope no one's in a bad relationship. But if you are or feel like you're in a bad relationship, then I'm hoping that some of the things that I'm saying to you that maybe some of your friends have told you about, maybe you've even laid up sometimes at night and thought about, or when you guys working together, you thought about it, or maybe you sat there, looked at them and thought about it. But, it's the thing about it is we want to determine if you're in a bad relationship, we want to identify the reasons you're staying in that relationship. And I understand there are various reasons. And it's not always that a person is weak. And people like to say, oh, well, they're weak. I don't believe that. But I think there are other underlying issues within the person that makes them stay in that relationship. So that's why we're going to talk about a few things right now. So let's get into it. I think here's one of the first reasons I want to give to why people stay in bad relationships. Familiarity. You're familiar with the situation. You're familiar with the person. And when you're familiar with something, it's like, you just don't want to change it because you come to know what you said. It's like, I know what to expect. I know what he's going to do next. I know what she's going to do next. And you're just settled in that. You're settled in the fact that you know what this person is going to behave like. And you don't want to change it. And getting out there and meeting somebody new means you got to start the learning process over again. The dating process. And some people don't want to do that. So they just come to say, like, you know what? I'm familiar with this person. I know their moves. I know their attitude. Listen, I know that, she likes to go to the gym and have guys flirt with her. He likes to go out and flirt with every woman at the cash registers. I know she might be a little unfaithful. He might be a little unfaithful. He's not really attentive, but there's some good moments. And sometimes people are just so familiar with a situation that they just don't want to change it. They just come to accept it. Listen, they know what's coming, and they normalize it. Like I said, they normalize that. They like it. They just come to say it is what it is. All right? And I just deal with it. And unfortunately, some people adopt that mentality. The next thing I want to say is this. This is another reason people stay in bad relationships. They force themselves to think the good times are better than the bad, and that the person will eventually turn around. And first off, you got to understand something. You're not going to change somebody who don't want to change. You can suggest it. You can leave notes. You can go to counseling. If they don't want to change, they're not going to change. And although you say, you know what, we do have some good times. But if your good times are just so rare and in between that you may be with somebody that's like this. You might go 2 weeks of arguing, fussing, and fighting. Then all of a sudden, they feel like, oh, well, you know what? Let's just go to the movies. They give you one day to where it just seems like everything is okay. But the next morning when you get up, you're back to the same old routine of arguing, fussing, and fighting and drama. So that's what I mean when I say you're forcing yourself to think that the 1 or 2 good times outweigh the multitude of bad times. And sometimes that's because a person look at somebody and say, I see good in them. And some people, they're like that. They just look at a person and say, listen, I know they're rude. I know they're disrespectful, but I've seen some good in them. And some people feel like they're the one to bring that out. They're the one to change that person to where that good fully takes over. And sometimes, I'm not going to say it can't happen, but a lot of times, by the time it actually takes place, you have just lost so much, not only of yourself, but of your life. You lost so much of who you are. And it's like you sinking into a hole so far that it's like they're not even trying to bring you up. They're just living their life. And you got to be careful about that. Another reason people stay in bad relationships, you're emotionally beaten up. You are. Emotionally, you're just beaten. You're too tired to go out there and meet somebody else. You're just drained. Your confidence is gone. You just got low self-esteem. You're just emotionally beaten. And you're just like, look, I'll take whatever I can get. I don't want to fight for love anymore. I don't want to fight for happiness. I don't want to fight for anything, because you eventually get to the point where you barely even believe that a real happy relationship exists. Because some people have this saying that relationships will work, and you're just to the point that now like, look, I don't even want to work for it no more. Whatever. That person say, I'm going out. I'll be back whenever. You're like, okay, bye. You don't even care anymore. You just basically going through the motions. Whatever you can say to let them go and do their thing, and you can just have even a moment of peace in the house, that's fine with you. Yeah, they'll be back. They may be back at 4:30 in the morning. They may be back in the afternoon. She might be going to hang with the girls, or she might be going and hang out with Tom, Bob, or Julie, whoever. She might be, he might be out with a fella playing basketball. He might be laid up at some chick's house. Whatever. I'm tired. I'm too tired of chasing and fighting, and I don't want to do it anymore. And a lot of people are just so emotionally beat up in relationships that they just stick with whatever situation that they're in. One of the reasons, I think we all know this, another reason that people stay in bad relationships is children. Sometimes there's children involved, and neither parent feel like they can, sustain their own life outside on their own, so they stay together just for the kids. And I understand the idea, but sometimes the relationship just can become so toxic that even the kids are starting to notice that, hey, and believe me, I'm telling you this, kids know when two parents love each other, and they know the difference between my mom and dad love each other and we have a happy home versus, look, my mom and dad just together. They don't even sleep in the same room, and they barely even want to talk to each other. Okay, when we have breakfast, one may feed us, the other one will leave. Kids recognize that. So don't think kids are stupid and don't know when parents are not getting along. They know that, especially when you just tolerating each other. Kids can see that. Another reason that people stay in bad relations is comfort, man. Like, if I stay with this person, you know what? At least I got a roof over my head, the bills are taken care of, and I got health insurance. It's just comfort. That's why some people tolerate what a lot of people do. And you'll find that in a lot of relationships with people with money. You got men that are dating women who got money and women who are dating men who got money. And the only reason they're with that person is comfort. Because they know that, listen, everything is taken care of. I don't have to worry about nothing. It's just the ease of lifestyle right now. I'll take it. If she want to go out there and do whatever, that's fine. Do whatever. I'm just going to live. I'm just going to exist in the fact that I have a comfortable lifestyle right now. So comfort is a reason that a lot of people endure bad relationships. They feel they're just comfortable that they're in a situation where they're being taken care of. Another reason that people, and I can speak for this myself on a personal level, is why a lot of people stay in bad relationships, is they're embarrassed. And I think this is, to me, in my personal opinion, I think that this is probably one of the top three reasons that people stay in bad relationships. They're embarrassed. I mean, you meet somebody, you introduce them to your friends, you introduce them to your family. You done posted all this stuff on Facebook and social media, pictures of y'all on Instagram. And sometimes it's just that when you first start dating, the relationship takes off. Everything seems happy. And, it's, been 6 months into it. Then all of a sudden she changes. She's a different person. So now her attitude has changed. Her behavior has changed. You hate going home. You don't want to be in the house. And it can be the same thing for her. His attitude changed. The way he treats her is different. She don't want to go home. She wants to just work later, go hang out with friends because she don't want to deal with the home environment. And you don't see the pictures being posted anymore. But they don't want to say anything because they spent so much time people saying, oh, y'all such a good couple. Oh, you look so happy. Everybody's doing all these applause and accolades towards your relationship, but not knowing that your relationship is like on rocks. It's a sinking ship. And sometimes you can be so embarrassed because the questions that people are going to ask, and you just don't want to deal with it. Having to explain why the relationship went the way it did. You got to deal with your friends, because you might be thinking, well, maybe the relationship will work out. Maybe things will turn around and I don't want my friends, not liking him if I tell them what happened, or my family starting to turn on him if I say what happened. And then you just don't want the embarrassment. It's like, oh, y'all was the happy couple. Y'all was, living the life. But when you're having to deal with the fact of going back to tell everybody that, listen, she cheated, man. She was violent, She would throw stuff. She would break stuff. She would just curse me out in public. And, same thing for a woman, She could be like, he was disrespectful. He barely came home. He used to always drink, and he was just abusive, verbally abusive. So when you're dealing with a situation, man, to where the relationship is you just feel like it's embarrassing. And I've been in that situation where I was just so embarrassed, I didn't want to say anything. But that's what happened. That's what happened with a lot of people. They're embarrassed to let the relationship go because of everybody else's perspective of what their relationship is. But we're going to talk a little bit more about this right soon as we come back after the break. And I'm going to be able to pronounce words. All right, we'll be back.
We'll be back with your host, Reggie, on Simply Straight Talk.
Hello, Simply Straight Talk family. If you are enjoying this episode, at the end of the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And why not share this with a friend? Also, visit our blog at newlifenewmind.com, where you can find additional articles on more great topics. Stay tuned. The show will continue right after this message.
You're listening to Simply Straight Talk.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Simply Straight Talk show, man. Today we are talking about why do people stay in bad relationships, toxic relationships, unhealthy relationships, troubled relationships, okay? However you want to label it, whatever you want to call it. Why do a man stay with a woman that he knows is not good for him, not treating him right, not doing good? Why does a woman stay with a man that's not treating her right, not being good to her? Listen, we gave a list of things in the beginning of the show, but I want to pick up real quick, man, because one of the last things we talked about was that sometimes people are just embarrassed. They're embarrassed about being in a relationship and then a relationship going south and then having to explain to the friends and family after everybody's been introduced to this person. Now you got to go back and confess up that the relationship is done. It's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? It's over. No more. You know what I'm saying? The rock's been crushed. Why is it? When you're embarrassed, you never want to admit that. I mean, because it's really a hard thing to do. Now, like I told you, I've been in relationships. I've been in bad relationships. And I kind of mentioned in the beginning that a lot of times no one wants to acknowledge the fact that a man can be in a relationship and the woman can be bad. Now, that's not saying that I'm perfect. That's not saying that men are perfect. But it's acknowledging the fact that, I was in a relationship with a person who, you know what I'm saying? Like, for me, it was like, I told you how I am about loyalty. And if I'm married, we're married. So my thinking is me and you, we're a team. We're going to rock this. We're going to build something. But her mentality was party, drink, hang out. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, it was to the point where it was just lying, lying about who she was, what she was doing, who she was with. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking for real, coming home, the guys in the house. Oh, it's just a friend. It's just a friend. It's just stuff like this. And everybody knew she was cheating. I was in the military at the time. Everybody knew she was cheating. And even I knew. But sometimes we are embarrassed. And that's just a reality of it. I'm going to keep it 100 with you. Now, if a woman tried that mess with me right now, I ain't going to lay hands on her. But I know how I got the gift of goodbye. I know how to say goodbye with the quickness. All right. But the thing about it is, sometimes we are embarrassed about our situation because, you just want to be happy. You just want to be in a good relationship. But it's unfortunate when you become involved with somebody who doesn't appreciate you, who wants to be in a relationship, but still wants to be single. And we do have men and women that are like that. It was just unfortunate that I met somebody who was like that. I mean, even her best friend was telling her, why are you doing this? You got a good man. Her mother. Now, I loved her mother. Oh, my God. I loved her mother. This was the best mother-in-law in the world to me. She called me and said, I am so sorry. You deserve so much better. You don't deserve that. And that's why I say that sometimes men can be involved in relationships to where the woman is just not the best thing. Now, you're embarrassed, you don't know what to do, and it is difficult because people will make assumptions, they'll judge, and then everybody gets to talking. So that's the whole thing. So I think you got to be mindful of that when people say they're embarrassed, or recognize the fact when somebody may be embarrassed. But listen, there are things you need to do or things you can do to kind of help you out. So if you are in a relationship that's toxic or a bad relationship, you may have to walk away, no matter how embarrassing it is, no matter how comfortable or familiar you feel or how relaxed you feel, you may have to walk away. But if you're going into a relationship or when you move into a new relationship, pay attention. You got to pay attention from the beginning so you can make better decisions about who you get in a relationship with. Because, pay attention because think about this. Things you don't want to do is, don't depend on somebody else for finances, getting pregnant, try being more self-sufficient. Because think about it. If a person cannot control you because they feel like they're the one that's maintaining you, but if you're independently sustaining yourself, they can't have that control over you to try to lower your self-esteem, to make you feel less than, or to try to verbally manipulate you into staying with them because they try to just degrade you all the time. Like you can't find better than them. So that's why I say that, try to make sure that you are independently able to sustain yourself. Don't get pregnant. Because when you get pregnant, then kids get involved, and you may feel like you have to get married or I have to be in a relationship with this person. And we talked about that in the beginning of the show. The next thing is know when it's time to go. And I think that's so important because nobody should be in a relationship where you're living in fear, where you have more peace on the job than you do at home. And when you do come home, the person that you're getting into bed with, the person that you're sitting eating with or talking to, just their presence or just being around them physically makes you sick. That is not a good thing. It's not a good thing for you mentally, and it's not a good thing for you physically. You're talking about high blood pressure. You're talking about, heart attacks and strokes, stress. Your mental health will start to decline. So you have to kind of prepare yourself and understand, like, listen, if you can't talk to this person and get them to understand what is wrong, what is it about the relationship that's making you unhappy, then you may have to face the fact that it's time to go. Yes, you may have to start over. Yes, you may be losing some of the things that they provide for you. But ask yourself this. Would you rather come home to a place where you know that you got peace, where you can sit on your couch and it's peaceful, you can watch TV and it's peaceful? Because here's one thing I like I said, everything I talk to y'all about is from experience, and one of the relations in that I was bad, it was to the point to where when that person called, I did not even want to pick up the phone because I knew it was going to be drama. And that's one of the hardest things is to be in a relationship with somebody and look at the phone and be like, hell no. And if I'm in a relationship and my woman calls, I want to look at the phone and be like, excuse me, I got to step out for a minute because I want to feel like this phone call is bringing me joy. It's bringing me happiness. Even if they just call and say, hey, babe, hey, can you pick up this on the way home? Hey, I miss you. I always want to feel happiness at the sound of their voice. That's what I want. I don't want somebody that call me and every time they call, we ready to throw down. It's a fight. It's going to be an argument. I'm expecting drama. The ringtone for them makes my skin crawl. That's not a good feeling in a relationship. And the last thing I want to talk about, man, is don't normalize dysfunction. Okay? If you feel like it's normal for your spouse to never come home or come home at 3, 4 in the morning whenever they want to, if you have an irresponsible mate who don't pay bills, don't respect you, don't do nothing around the house, you could be a guy, pay all the bills, come home every day, but she never cooks, she never cleans, but she sits at home all day. You know what I'm saying? If you got somebody that's physically abusive, never tolerate that. Never. Whether it's a man hitting on a woman or a woman hitting on a man, do not tolerate physical abuse. Because believe it or not, women are normally 90% the initiators of physical abuse. Now, constant arguments. If you having to come home every day to arguing and fussing and fighting, listen, don't normalize that, okay? Mates who live like they're single, mates that are cheating. You know what I'm saying? They married to you or in a relationship with you, but they out there hugging on every woman, hugging on every dude, you know what I'm saying? Grabbing on people, you know what I'm saying? They acting like they're not even in a relationship. Don't normalize this dysfunction to the part to where you feel like that's how a relationship is supposed to be. That is the normal behavior of people of a mate. That is not the normal behavior of a mate in a relationship. Because what's going to happen is If you start to normalize this buffoonery, this stupidity, this lunatic behavior, okay, if you start to normalize this stuff, then what happens is when you go out and meet somebody else, you can meet a man that is a great guy. He's the one that's going to be there for you. He's going to have your back. He wants to really build something with you. But if you are trying to drag everything because you've normalized the craziness from before, and you're saying, well, this is how a man is supposed to act. You're not a man because you don't go to the strip clubs. If you was a man, you'd be in the strip club, come home at 2:30 in the morning, didn't want to be with me. See, and I actually had a woman tell me that she thinks men should enjoy going to the strip clubs. I don't enjoy going to the strip clubs. Don't get me wrong. I like what you see at the strip club, but that was a long time ago. But if I feel like this, if I'm in a relationship with you and I want to see a woman strip, why can't my woman do it for me? Why can't my woman give me that show and we enjoy the moment right there? Why do I have to go to a club, watch another woman dance all over me, then come home seeing her body, and maybe your body's not as perky as hers, so I'm with you but thinking about her because she was just grinding on me all night. Come on now. You know what? Don't normalize dysfunction. Do not normalize dysfunction in relationships, because when you do, you're going to carry that into the next relationship and you're going to run a good man or woman off, because they're going to probably tell you that, listen, I'm sorry. I'm not the arguing type. I like to handle my business. You know, I'm the cuddling type. I'm the romantic type. I'm not the in the streets, in the club type. You got the wrong person. You know, some guys like to hang with, you know, some women feel like a man need to hang with the guys all the time. Some guys are not like that. Like, listen, I did that, been there, done that. Now I want to hang with my boo. I want to be with my baby. You know what I'm saying? Let's travel. Let's see the world. Let's do things. Let's explore. Don't normalize craziness and risk losing happiness. All right, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back with the final thoughts on today's show.
Free your mind, free your voice right here on Simply Straight Talk.
Hey, are you looking for some great music, upbeat and with a positive voice? Well, the song I Stand With You is exactly what you need. This timeless song has a pop version sung by Audrey Carmel. And a reggae version sung by General Steele, now known as Revelation.
Now I know some days you may feel blue, Lord. Trust in your greatness to see you through.
These songs are now available on iTunes and other digital platforms for download. Don't miss out. Get your copy today.
Give life your best, and I know.
Simply Straight Talk. It's that time. Reggie is about to break this conversation down.
Hey everybody, we're back with the final thoughts of today's show. Listen, I understand that sometimes we get into relationships and maybe the person who we thought we was getting into a relationship with is just not that person. But the thing about it is, make sure you're not afraid to take care of yourself. Make sure you pay attention in the beginning stages and honestly take notes. Take notes of the things that person like to do. What are their real interests? I mean, I always say if you meet somebody in the club and they tell you that they enjoy the club life, then you know what? You may have to come to expect that if you are dealing with that person at that point and you go into a relationship knowing that, you know, y'all first couple of dates, all he or she wants to do is go to the club, then you know what you're getting into. If you notice that a person is very flirtatious, but they tell you, hey, you know, it's just me, it's nothing serious, you know, hey, I just like to have fun. You know what you're getting into. So we got to start making smarter choices, because the warning signs are there when you go into a relationship. And sometimes, you know, I talked about on the last show, when we settle for relationships, that sometimes you ignore things just to be with somebody because you don't want to be alone. So you're settling for qualities and traits that you know you really don't approve of. So if you're going into a relationship or you're looking for a relationship, make sure that you're being mindful of the people that you're bringing into your life. Make smart choices, long-term choices, and don't be afraid to step out of a relationship that's toxic, bad, unhealthy, however you want to label it. If your life, if your health, physically and mentally is at risk, then you need to move on to find peace and happiness with somebody who wants to help you reach that. Okay? Hey, thank you for listening to the show today, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I love the support. You guys are absolutely amazing. So to all of the men and women out there who keep supporting the Simply Straight Talk show, thank you so much. Thank you once again. London, Thailand, China. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that love. Africa, I appreciate it. Some great comments, man. Y'all keep reaching out, man. I'm going to keep reaching back out to y'all with great topics. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show, and I'll see you next week. Thank you. Don't forget, shows drop every Friday.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Simply Straight Talk Show. Connect with us at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Don't forget to sign up to our newsletter and check out the New Life, New Mind blog at newlifenewmind.com. See you at the next episode.